I'm a night guard ranger in Alaska. We don't respond to screams after dark. The screams stop being the hardest part around the 5th month. That is not because they got quieter, or less frequent, or less convincing. It is because by the 5th month, I had developed the same relationship with them that a man develops with chronic pain. You do not stop feeling it. You stop being surprised by it. The surprise was the part that cost the most, and once that was gone, the rest of it became manageable in the way that most hard things become manageable once you accept that they are permanent. My name is Lester Voss. I am 55 years old. I spent 18 years working overnight security at the Trans-Alaska Pipeline Corridor, specifically the interior sections where the pipeline runs through some of the most remote terrain in North America, hundreds of miles from the nearest town, accessible only by gravel haul roads that close in winter and barely open in spring. My job was to drive those roads at night and check the infrastructure and report anomalies and stay alert in conditions that turn most people around inside of a season. 18 years of Alaskan backcountry nights. 18 years of cold and dark, and the particular kind of alone that only exists when the nearest other person is 2 hours away, and the radio is your only connection to anything human. That work did not prepare me for this posting in any specific way. What it prepared me for was the size of the dark up here, the scale of it. A lot of people come to Alaska and the dark breaks them before anything else does. It did not break me. That is the only qualification that mattered. This posting is in a section of the Chugach National Forest in south-central Alaska, a stretch of old-growth coastal forest that runs along a river system draining from the mountains into a broad estuary. The forest is dense. Sitka spruce and hemlock so thick that in summer, the canopy closes the sky completely, and in winter the branches hold enough snow that the understory stays dark even on the brightest days. The trails I patrol are not public trails. They are old paths, older than the Forest Service designation, older than any map I have been given, running through the timber in ways that do not correspond to any logical route between 2 points, but that feel, when you are walking them, like they were made with a specific destination in mind by something that understood this landscape from the inside. And I was given my operational guidelines on my first day by a man named Garrett, who ran the Regional Night Operations Office out of a building in Seward with no public-facing function. He handed me a sealed envelope and a radio and a set of truck keys, and he said, "The most important rule is the second one. Read it twice." Then he left, and I did not see him again for 6 weeks. I read the envelope in the truck before my first shift. There were 11 rules. Rule 1. Your patrol covers 9 miles of trail divided into 3 sections. Section 1 runs north along the river. Section 2 cuts east through the interior timber. Section 3 returns south along the ridgeline above the estuary. Complete all 3 sections, every shift in that order. Do not alter the sequence. Rule 2. Do not respond to screams after dark. Do not move toward them. Do not call out. Do not radio dispatch. Log the time, the section you are in, the direction of the sound, and the duration. When the scream stops, log the stop time. Continue your patrol. This rule has no exceptions. Garrett told me to read the second rule twice. I read it 4 times. The language is plain and the instruction is clear. And I followed it from the first night because the pipeline work had trained me to follow operational guidelines before I understood them and to trust that the understanding would come with time. The understanding came at the end of my 3rd month when Garrett finally called me on the radio and asked how I was doing with the second rule. I said I was following it. He said, "Good." Then he said the one thing he was ever going to say about it directly. He said, "The screams are the forest checking whether the patrol is real or just a body walking a path. A patrol that responds is a body. A patrol that logs and continues is a patrol. The forest needs to know which one you are. Then he signed off, and we have not discussed it since. In 10 months, I have logged 208 screams. They come most frequently in Section 2, the interior timber section, where the canopy is densest and the trail is furthest from the river sound, and the quiet between screams has the most weight to it. They come in clusters and in singles. They come from distances that range from far enough away to be ambiguous to close enough that the first time I heard one at that range, I had my radio in my hand before I caught myself. I put the radio back on my vest and logged the time and kept walking. Rule 3. The trail in Section 2 passes a standing dead spruce at the halfway point of the section, identifiable by a double fork in the upper trunk. At this tree, stop and place your right hand flat against the bark for a count of 20. Do not count aloud. Do not use your light during the count. When you reach 20, remove your hand and continue. This stop must occur between 11 in the evening and 1 in the morning. If your timing places you at the tree outside that window, wait at the nearest identifiable point until the window opens. The dead spruce is the secondary space of this posting in the way that other postings have a corridor or a cellar or a hatch. The bark under my palm during the 20 count is always the same temperature regardless of the ambient air temperature. Not warm, not cold. The temperature of something that maintains its own state independent of the conditions around it. On the most active nights, the nights when the screams are loudest and most frequent, the bark feels different under my hand in a way I haven't found a precise word for. Present is the closest I can get. Like the tree is aware of the contact in a way it is not always aware. I hold the count to 20 regardless. Some nights 20 feels like enough. Some nights I hold past 20 until the feeling resolves. I log the duration either way. Rule 4. Do not use your flashlight in Section 2 between midnight and 1 in the morning. Navigate by memory and by the trail surface under your boots. If you need to confirm your position, use the red filter on the secondary flashlight clipped to your left shoulder. The red filter may be used for no more than 3 seconds at a time. Return to dark navigation immediately after each use. The dark navigation requirement in Section 2 during the midnight hour is the rule that tested me most in the first 2 months. 18 years of pipeline work meant 18 years of never being without a light source in a remote area at night. The pipeline safety protocols were built around visibility. This rule inverted that completely. Section 2 at midnight with no light is a specific kind of dark that I do not have language for from my previous work. The canopy closes out the sky. The trail surface under your boots is the only reliable reference. Your other senses compensate in ways you do not expect. By the 4th month, I could navigate that section in full dark, faster than I could navigate it with a light, because the light was giving me information my brain was not built to process in that environment, and the dark was forcing me to use the information my body had been collecting for months of walking the same path. Rule 5. If you hear footsteps on the trail behind you in any section, maintain your pace exactly. Do not speed up. Do not slow down. Do not turn around. At the next identifiable point on the trail, stop and recite the current code phrase aloud 7 times at normal speaking volume. Then, continue. If the footsteps resume after the recitation, recite 7 more times. Continue in sets of 7 until the footsteps stop. I have used the recitation protocol on 31 nights. The code phrases at this posting are 2-word combinations that the dispatcher broadcasts at 8 in the evening before each shift. Cold river, dark timber, frost line. I recite them in the dark on the Section 2 trail with something behind me on the path, and my voice sounds different in that timber than it sounds anywhere else I have used my voice in 55 years of living. Flatter. More absorbed. Like the forest takes the sound and does not give it back. The footsteps stop within 3 sets of 7 every time. I log the number of sets required and continue my patrol. Rule 6. Between 2 in the morning and 2:30 in the morning, the estuary at the base of the ridgeline will be visible from Section 3. Do not look at the estuary during this window. Face the ridgeline only. If the trail requires you to face the estuary during this window, close your eyes and navigate by feel until you have turned away from it. This window is 30 minutes. Plan your Section 3 timing to minimize the distance you cover facing the estuary direction. I have planned my timing carefully since the first week. I enter Section 3 at 1:45 when I am on schedule, which puts me past the estuary-facing stretch by 2 in the morning and through the window before 2:15. The 10 minutes of buffer has never felt like enough. On the nights I am running late, the buffer shrinks and the window feels different. On 2 occasions, I've closed my eyes and navigated Section 3 by feel for distances longer than I am comfortable with. Both times I emerged from the window intact. Both times I logged the deviation and continued. Rule 7. At the end of each shift, at the southern terminus of Section 3, stand at the trailhead and face north into the forest for 60 seconds before leaving. Do not use your light. When the 60 seconds is complete, walk to your vehicle without looking back at the tree line. I have done the 60-second north-facing close at the end of every shift for 10 months. On most nights, the 60 seconds is just 60 seconds. Dark timber. The sound of the river from Section 1 carrying faintly on the night air. The cold that comes down off the ridgeline before dawn. On some nights, the 60 seconds is something else. On some nights, I am facing into that forest in the dark, and something in the quality of the dark shifts, not visibly, not in any way a photograph would capture, but in the way the air pressure shifts before a storm when nothing visible has changed yet, but the atmosphere knows. On those nights, I hold my 60 seconds and I turn, and I walk to the truck, and I do not look back. I found the single amendment to this posting's protocol on my 44th shift, folded inside the rain cover of my pack. It said, "The patrol route you walk was not designed by the Forest Service. It was mapped by the first person to walk it as a deliberate overnight circuit, sometime in the early part of the last century, a person whose name is not in any record we have been able to find." What they understood, and what you are continuing, is that the route itself is the function. Not the rules, not the radio checks, not the flashlight protocols. The route walked in full, in sequence, every night is what the forest requires. The rules exist to keep you on the route when the forest tries to pull you off it. Every rule is a way of saying, stay on the path, directed at the specific ways this particular forest pulls people away from it. The screams pull you sideways. The footsteps slow you down. The estuary pulls you around. The rules hold you on the route. Walk the route and you are doing the work. Lose the route and the work stops, and what happens when the work stops is documented in the archive under 11 separate incident reports spanning 40 years. You do not need to read them. You need to walk. I have not read the incident reports. I walk the route, 9 miles every night. Section 1 north along the river. Section 2 east through the interior. Section 3 south along the ridgeline. Hand on the dead spruce for a count of 20. Dark navigation through the midnight hour. 7 repetitions of the code phrase when the footsteps come. Eyes off the estuary from 2 to 2:30. 60 seconds facing north at the southern terminus. 208 screams logged and continuing. The screams stop being the hardest part around the 5th month. The hardest part now is the 60 seconds at the end of every shift. Standing in the dark, facing the forest that has spent the last 9 hours testing every rule I know, and holding the 60 seconds and not taking a single step back toward what I just walked through. I hold it. Every night I hold it. Then I turn around and I go home. And I come back tomorrow and I do it again. That is the job. Walk the route. Hold the 60 seconds. Do not look back at the tree line.